My name is Michael Young, and I'm a lawyer who handles contested estates in Texas. What is inheritance theft? In short, it's the wrongful taking or appropriation of assets from the rightful heirs or beneficiaries. Now, there are many different scenarios in inheritance theft, and I've seen many in my lengthy practice in handling contested estates. But typically, it's the diversion of assets during someone's lifetime combined with getting them to make a new will. Typically, it's when the person is elderly and or is in failing health. And the person that's taking advantage of them could be a neighbor, could be a caregiver, could be a friend, could even be a close family member, such as a child. And through the stroke of a pen, they can literally divert hundreds of thousands of dollars or even millions of dollars in cash and other assets such as mineral interests and land with the stroke of a pen. A common scenario is someone becomes elderly, ill health, maybe their spouse dies, and then a neighbor comes and starts helping them, or a friend from church. And maybe it starts off innocently, or maybe not. But ultimately, what happens is cash starts being diverted. Money is taken out of accounts. Maybe it starts off small, and then that person is added to the account for convenience reasons. And then there's more and more money taken. Perhaps they're added as a beneficiary of a life insurance policy. And then perhaps they're made the primary beneficiary of a will to the exclusion of their natural heirs and beneficiaries. And I see it happening more and more with extended families spread across the country. And, a common scenario that I see, for example, is perhaps a couple has 4 children and they're spread apart. Maybe one lives in Illinois, maybe one in New York, maybe one in Chicago or California, and they're in Texas. And let's say 3 of the 4 children are generally successful, but maybe one of the child has failed marriages, failed business, and they move home with mother and father. And then maybe father passes away, and they generally start helping the mother more and more. And that's all well and good. And the other siblings are generally grateful for that. But then the sibling that moves in, all of a sudden their job, quote unquote, becomes taking care of mommy. And maybe it's just a little money here and there, a little help, a few loans. But then as the mother's health starts to fail, there's more and more cash that's missing and transferred. And it's not just to care for mommy and daddy, it's basically to support that child. And then as the mother's health really starts to go downhill and that child senses that the mother is close to passing away, that child goes and gets a lawyer, or maybe goes and downloads a will off the internet from a form and has the mother sign a new will, leaving everything or possibly almost everything to that child and excludes the other siblings. That is a scenario that I've seen fairly often. And then the other siblings contact somebody like me to see if there's something that can be done. And it doesn't have to be the child scenario. Once again, it can be a caregiver, it can be a friend, and often it's somebody trusted, somebody in a group that they're a part of, possibly from church even. And sometimes it's all on the up and up and legitimate, but not always. And I think if you're facing that kind of scenario, it's very important as soon as possible to contact an experienced probate litigation lawyer. The first sign that you may get is when everyone comes into the parent's funeral, and then one child who has been with the parent refuses to talk about the will or is cagey about it, won't show the will. Instead, as soon as possible, they'll get a lawyer and they'll file the will for probate without necessarily notifying the other siblings. And in that scenario, and once again, I've seen it several times in my cases, it's very important as soon as possible to contact an estate litigation lawyer so we can look at the court record, see if there's been a will filed for probate, and evaluate the potential for a contest.